Dear students, welcome back. We'll start outsourcing. What do you mean by outsourcing? It means that which we require in the process of the productions, the sources will be from outsides. The sources will be that outsides. I'm giving the examples. As you are here and here that JK Cement works and JK Cement is producing that cements. Whenever the industry is producing that finished goods, that industry needs different kinds of factors of productions: land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs, organizations. Four factors of the productions. But whenever he has to arrange all these inputs, he may take that hire from that outsides. For example, here the DISA is that security persons, that security services, which is that outside agencies on a contractual basis, the JK Cement works is taking from that outside of that companies. So that is called that outsourcing. Again, I have examples. It means the JK Cement work is not taking that appointment risk about that securities persons. He take that person from that outside, that agencies who is dealing with all these activities, that JK Cement only give that payments and he is not involved all kinds of selection procedure or the working procedures. That is why I am written here, outsourcing refers to contracting out some of its activities, to a third party which we are earlier performed by the organizations. I am giving the example of our school. Dear students, in our school, in the administration process at present time, we require all kinds of work on that online process. Even if the students enter to that school, that attendance, that marks, that fees, the dress, the discipline, and the results, all things are to be in that computerized process. That computerized works are to be done by the different persons. There is that some software companies, those who are preparing all these works. So that work we are to be taking from that outsides, that sources is to be known as that outsourcings. Similarly, I am giving an example. Many companies have started that outsourcing security services to outside the agencies on a contractual basis. It means we give the payment on the contract basis. That third party will provide all these facilities to ourselves. That is to be called that outsourcing. So outsourcing refers to contracting out some of its activities. It means the JK Cement will give that concentration, or JK Cement will concentrate on the core activities of the productions, which are the most important at present. They will not concentrate about the outsider of the activities, which is not exactly core activities in the process of the productions. That is why outsourcing refers to that contracting out. We are outing from that contract sides some of its activities to a third party. We are taking that person, security person, from the third party, that is the DISA, which we are earlier performed by the organization. पहले जेके सीमेंट वाला इन सारा चीज खुद देख रहा था, अभी इनको कोई देखने का मतलब नहीं है, कैसे अपॉइंटमेंट होगा, कौन सा पर्सन सही है, इतना टेस्ट करने के लिए इनको कोई समय नहीं है. That is why I gave the examples. Many companies have started the outsourcing agency services to outside the agencies on a contractual basis. So outsourcing is one of the important outcomes of the globalization process. Outsourcing is the important outcomes in the globalization process. That is why I started that outsources. It has intensified in recent times because of growth of fast modes of the communication information technology we need, particularly in the growth of the information technology. In the recent times we are borrowing, we are taking that from outside, that is also called that outsources. I gave the example for our schools. With the help of the modern telecommunications links, that next voice visual data in respect of these services digitized and transmitted in real time over continuous and the national boundaries. So that is called also, for example, I am giving that business process outsourcing, BPO, business process outsourcing, BPO, business process outsourcing, business process outsourcing. India has become a favorable destination of outsourcing of most of the multinational companies because low wage rates and availability of skilled manpower. For example, BPO companies are already gaining prominence and earning that precious foreign exchange. Some of the services outsourced to India include, that is, we have already known that call center, voice-based business process known as business process outsourcing, or that is that call centers. Similarly, there is the record keeping, accountancy, all kinds of accountancy work, that is information technology, that software which is available in the school office, that is also one kinds of business process outsourcing. Similarly, different kinds of banking services, similarly different kinds of film editing, book transcriptions, clinical advices, etc. All these are the services outside India to include. So this is to be called that outsourcing. Outsourcing means, that is, we can say that contracting out some of its activities to a third party which were earlier performed by the organizations, and where I had given the example of that business process outsourcing, or that is called that BPO. So dear students, policy strategy or policy, we may say that globalization may define the process associated with increasing openness, growing economic interdependence, and deepening economies integration in the world of the economies. So it means free import, free exports, free purchasing and selling. There will be no restrictions of that borrowing, or we may say that investments, or we may say that any kinds of movement of goods, services, capital and technology. There will be no restriction of movement of the goods, services, capital and technology. That is called the globalizations. So what are the policy strategies promoting the globalization of the Indian economies? That some important policy strategies increase the equity limit of the foreign investments, partial convertibility, long-term tariff policy, reduction in tariffs, and withdrawal of quantitative restrictions. That is, since 2001, the qualitative restriction on imports items have been totally withdrawn. This is confirmed with India's committee to that World Trade Organizations. That is that World Trade Organizations. What do you mean by World Trade Organizations? That is WTO, World Trade Organizations, or this is called that WTO, BPO, WTO. WTO, World Trade Organizations. Dear students, you have already known GATT, GATT. It means General Agreement, General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. Which was established in the year of 1948, July 23rd. Exactly, I cannot say 1948. That was the General Agreement on Trade and Tariff, which was established in the year of 1948. But now, this is changed as the name of that World Trade Organizations in the year of 1995. It means previously जो गेट था अभी ये वर्ल्ड ट्रेड ऑर्गेनाइजेशन नाम में प्रेजेंटली चेंज हो चुका है. It means the GATT was set up to administer all multilateral trade agreements. Multilateral trade agreement. Multilateral trade agreement. Bilateral agreements, multilateral agreements. Bilateral agreements deals with that two countries. Multilateral agreements is related to that more than two countries. So when that GATT was set up, why it was set up? Because to administer the all multilateral trade agreements by providing that equal opportunities to all countries in the international market. Providing that equal opportunities to all over the countries. That are the objectives. Means administer to all multilateral trade agreement by providing that all the countries that opportunity will be gained by the international markets. That is that objectives. And in 1995, it was named as World Trade Organizations. General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs is to be changed as WTO, World Trade Organizations. That World Trade Organizations, it means it is the agreement all over the countries about the trade of goods and services. How all of the countries they can freely trade, import and export on the goods and services and technology. It means the sole objective was to facilitate the international trade. And at present time, do you think that India is a member of that World Trade Organizations? Yes. When India was the member of World Trade Organization, when it was established, that is the 1995, remember it. But before that, India was not member when it was that GATT, General Agreement on Trade and Tariffs. So, at present time, there is that the member of that World Trade Organization may be increase or decrease like this. At present times, that member of the World Trade Organization, that member is 164, but actually it is reduced, I think 159. Please check it. 159 members of that presently in that World Trade Organizations. It means the members of the World Trade Organizations, they will decide about that international trade, how that goods and services will be freely transfer or freely trade among the different countries, that agreements which provide that equal opportunities to all about the countries. That were the objectives of the World Trade Organizations. Although I am saying that at present only 159 members of the countries of the World Trade Organizations, all the members are required to abide that the laws what will be framed by that World Trade Organizations, or abide the different policies what will be framed by that World Trade Organizations. It means World Trade Organization will frame that some rules and regulation or that policies what will be framed by the World Trade Organization. All the countries are compelled to follow it, abide it. So as an important member of the World Trade Organization, India has been the forefront framing fairs, goods, rules, regulation, advocating that interest of the developing worlds. When there was the food minister of the Kamal Nath, that time he opposed about that agricultural policies that in that World Trade Organizations, because in India you have already known 60% people at present they are depending on that agriculture sectors, and farmers they are not getting that absolutely subsidies to produce their products, or they are not getting the proper facilities to increase their products. As a result of that, India, which is the developing country, could not be compared with the developed countries agriculture products. In developed countries like USA, only 3% people they are depending on that agriculture sector. Some country 5%, some countries 7% also. But with regard to this, for that agriculture product transaction of that goods freely, that will be opposed by the Kamal Nath on that agriculture products. That were the times. So as a result of it will be beneficial some of the countries, and it will be disadvantageous or harmful for that some countries. Generally, it is observed that those countries are the developed countries, they will get the benefit, they will get the advantages, because they can capable to use their products by that capital intensive methods, and with that bulk items with that minimum cost of production, so that they can control over all that countries by selling their products in that foreign countries with that minimum prices, minimum cost of productions. But the developing countries or that underdeveloped countries, they are not compete with the developed countries. So as a result of, there is some drawbacks and advantages. India has its commitments made the World Trade Organization. India has taken the reasonable steps to liberalize trade by removing the quantitative restriction on imports and regulating the tariffs of the trades. Some major functions of the World Trade Organizations to facilitate the international trade, both bilateral agreements and that multilateral agreements. Remember, it's multilateral trade and bilateral trades through the tariffs as well as non-tariff barriers. There is the tariff we have already discussed, and non-tariff barriers. And to establish the rule-based trading regimes in which nation cannot place arbitrary restriction on trades, as well as to enlarge the productions and trades of goods and services, as well as to ensure that optimum utilization of the resources, allocation of resources we have already known. So our objective that the resources should be utilized maximum way or optimum utilization of resources, and to protect the environments. Next steps, which is the most important crisis for our world, that is that pollutions, that is that environment, clean environment, which is the hurdles for the development of an economy. There are the different kinds of pollutions. So we can say here that these are the different kinds of policies implementations by that World Trade Organizations. One is the bilateral trade, multilateral trades, tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers. Remember, it's important of the terms. So far World Trade Organization we concluded here bilateral trade, multilateral trades and also tariffs, barriers and non-tariff barriers. So there is that some appraisals in that LPGs or that new economy policy or new economy reforms that we'll discuss in the next period. Thanks to all of you.